Hello. I need you to do a favor for me. Can you get the Rizzler? You're pretty yachted with the sauce. I did my best, okay? Hope you enjoyed it. Today we're talking about Death Note. I just wanted to start out by saying, okay. I just had some thoughts. I finished Death Note a while ago. But just hear me out before you jump to kind of like defending the anime, which like I understand why you would. There's so much to appreciate about it. Just to do a quick plot overview, pretty much what happens is, in this story, Light Yagami, who's the main character and arguably the protagonist of the story-ish, Light Yagami finds the Death Note, a notebook that just is laying in grass, and he touches it and looks at it. This notebook allows anyone that writes into it to kill anyone's name that is written in the book. Right? So Light Yagami decides to use this Death Note for the purpose of killing, like ridding the world of its criminals. Arguably, that could be kind of a positive thing to do. I don't think so. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that it's a positive thing to do. But this is just how the story goes, right? He's characterized as the idealistic kind of student, very intelligent, while transforming into a killing machine, also known as Kira, which is the public pseudonym for this killer in this series, right? The power eventually, inevitably gets to his head. This causes Light's moral judgment to shift from wanting to rid the world of, its evil to just eliminating anyone that just gets in his way, or anyone that is deemed like even the least bit bad, which, like, as we know just from existing, all of us are gray, like we all do good and bad things sometimes, and it's just gray. We're all gray, Just being able to see people as black and white like that obviously is going to cause some kind of moral dilemma, inevitably, clearly. And this is also in his pursuit to become a self-proclaimed just god. He's like, I'm the god of the new world. I'm this god, and blah blah blah. And then L, who's the technical, I guess, antagonist of this story, or the protagonist, it depends on how you view it. L is the elusive, mysterious detective, representing lawful justice, whose morality kind of also comes into question in some cases, but ultimately you are kind of rooting for L, as soon as you see him, because he's the one trying to find Kira and defeat him, right? So Ryuk is also the Shinigami, who's like part of, he's a god. He was sent from, the god realm or whatever. And then he drops a Death Note so then he can kill people. He's just kind of there as a representation of apathy, of death and the absurdity of Light's quest. He kind of points out Light as being kind of ridiculous and pointing out his flaws in his logic a lot of the time. And he's a necessary character in that sense. While I enjoyed this show, I enjoyed it a lot. There's a specific part of this that was very fun to kind of go through a thought experiment, if you will, because I thought that it was really fun to kind of explore the concept of L being just as morally ambiguous as Light. Like, L and Light are kind of morally ambiguous in a similar manner. Light and L are supposed to be the complete antithesis of each other. Light is a young, handsome teenager who externally you'd expect to be a good person because he presents well, and this can symbolize evil coming in all forms. It can show itself in all forms. L, on the other hand, is who the audience looks to for being right and just, but does not present well. He looks quite homely and maybe even, you'd argue a loner in a way.
No, I'm serious.
He has odd mannerisms, like showing his feet and being barefoot randomly in random places. He's kind of slightly unsettling to look at. He kind of has like a lot of bags under his eyes and etc. It's supposed to be like symbolizing morally good characters that can be like kind of unappealing but mean well, which is a common trope for both tropes in media. I really like them both as characters a lot, and how they were both portrayed as well, and how they also interact interacted with each other I found really interesting. Both characters being of equal intelligence, not knowing who the other is and whether or not the other one's Kira, and it was just an interesting way to see them interact. And also, like, having the introduction of both on, like, you know, separate aspects of this was also pretty interesting as well. We get introduced to Elle and Light in two different realms, right? And then they end up coming together because they have the high school entrance exams, and they both do equally as well, and they were both celebrated at the same time. I loved the tennis scene between Elle and Light. I found it super interesting and fun to watch, because it's almost like they're having a fight. They're intellectually volleying the possibilities and the mental gymnastics that each of them are doing in order to figure out the way to defeat the other person. And it's just such a fun, like, metaphorical way to see them volleying each other's thoughts at each other. And they're so equally matched that it's almost like telepathy, that they can, like, understand what the other person's going to be thinking or saying or doing. Another thing that I thoroughly enjoyed, there were so many things that I enjoyed about this, so just, if I don't mention everything that I enjoyed, just know that I generally enjoyed the whole thing a lot. I really, really did. There's a car chase scene with Matt. It was just funny because I was like, I remember watching it and looking forward to finding out more about this character, and I thought that he was really cool and really funny, and I just was like, he just seemed cool, and I was like, oh, I'm excited to get to know this new character. And I feel like that was purposeful, because then they ended up shooting him like at least 30 times, and then he ended up dying. He was such like a one-dimensional character for this purpose, but they made him really cool, and I thought that that was like really funny, but I don't know, I thought it was silly. Moving on, I also really liked the thought experiment of the, Elle and Light being both morally ambiguous because of their moral endeavors. Like, they're trying to make the world a better place in their own ways. And they both kind of spectacularly fail and succeed in it, in a way. If you've seen it, you know what I'm saying. And I also think that it's interesting and a fun way to think of, like, kind of blurring the lines between who is good and who is bad, and then also trying to get rid of people who are good and bad. Even within the, like, Light himself, there's a level of gray that's like, how is he able to determine who is good and who is bad? Meanwhile, he's becoming a version of himself that he could even deem as someone who is a bad person. You know what I mean? Like, he would probably kill himself with the death note because of his own moral judgment, is what I'm trying to say. With this endeavor that Light is trying to succeed in, is it really worth it? Like, worth all of the murder to kind of have a world that's crime-free? I don't think so, obviously. Also, is Elle's pursuit of Light all that justifiable, especially at the expense of, like, everything that Elle had to do in order to find Light, just to, prove that Light is Kira? My point is that Elle is kind of who you're rooting for, but he he develops somewhat of a god complex, I think, in my opinion, in a similar way as Light does, to be honest. In an early episode, I think it was like the first or second episode, Elle decides to bait Kira by saying, this person is Elle, but it actually wasn't. They were just a decoy, and they were a criminal that was set to be executed anyway. He was this horrible person. He killed, etc., etc. He did all of these horrible things. Using a person's life for moral pursuit is all too similar to what Kira is doing, and his pursuit to make the world a better place. They both have similar moral pursuits, just different ends of the spectrum, and also Elle's pursuit is like more achievable and more realistic because it's just getting rid of one person that's killing a bunch of people. So is Elle really not doing the same thing as Kira by compromising his sense of morality in order to defeat Kira by any means necessary? Even if it means using criminals as decoys to rid the world of Kira so the world could be a better place, is that not morally the same thing as what Kira is doing? My point is that it becomes a major slippery slope when your moral justification involves committing such a heinous and truly evil act. Even if they are a criminal, you're still killing someone. There's a weird rationale behind killing these criminals. They, the crimes that they talk about are some really heinous things, don't get me wrong. But not every criminal has done those heinous things, you know what I mean? There are many circumstantial things that end up happening as a result, and they are not factored in, especially people who are, being killed by Kira. And same thing with Elle. It's like, how are you able to justify who gets killed and who isn't? Like, it feels like such a theatrical way to go about it, especially someone who is described as being so intelligent that he requires extra calories. That's why he has so much sugar, because his brain needs the glucose because it's running at such a fast rate and such at max capacity at all times. Like, if your pursuit really is to get rid of this omnipresent evil being, why aren't you doing it in a different way that doesn't involve killing anyone? Why is there not more trying to maintain the sanctity of life? Why is there not more of that on Elle's part? Is that when you wield that much power, when you wield the power of an entire task force or a police force, etc., your morals end up becoming compromised inherently because you have so much power and a lot of decisions to be made. I don't think that he needed to make as many decisions to kill as many people he did in order to find Kira and kill him. Just some things that he did. Just as a reminder, he had Light's father, who was a detective on the task force, threaten to kill his own son for whatever convoluted purpose. There was a reason for it, and it ended up working out, blah, blah, blah. But it was also an unnecessary thing. It's just so theatrical. And obviously I know it's for the sake of making it more interesting for the anime. I completely understand. I just felt like it was just a weird way to go about it, and also it makes you question as the viewer how morally just Elle truly is. And it completely blurs the line between who really is the protagonist and the antagonist in this show. Neither of them are good, but Kira is clearly, the worst one. Definitely. I believe that Elle, to a certain degree, enjoyed the same power that he was wielding, and he did these things that were very unnecessary in order to find and defeat Kira, in my opinion. I think that they both developed a level of a god complex. So while I do enjoy that as a concept, I think it could have also been executed better. Don't get me wrong, I thoroughly enjoyed the series. I thought it was very fun, but I believe some aspects fell short. It felt like maybe, the writers got a little carried away in some aspects, and I mean, how can you blame them when you're also wielding that kind of power too, It goes all the way to the top. Now I'm gonna get into some things that I feel like maybe the series could have done better. And now before you start typing those comments, babe, just hear me out. Just try to hear me out. I understand why anyone would have so much passion for this anime, especially for the time. I feel like it was kind of new to the Western world, anime maybe. It was just kind of coming to be. I feel like maybe not. Maybe that was just my perspective of it. I don't know. Sorry. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't know what to tell you. All that being said, just hear me out. I'm going to get into some things that I think that the series could have done better. It bothered me how many very obvious ways Light could have been caught. One main one being Elle's death. Hello? from the beginning, Elle was like, hey, just so you know, like, in case I die, just know that it's Light Yagami that did it. Like, it's very obvious that Light Yagami did it. It's like, what? What are we doing here? Like, truly, what are we doing here? Also, the reasoning behind Light killing Elle felt so convoluted and insane. This doesn't feel like a good enough reason to justify killing Elle. I mean, I guess Light being able to manipulate the way that he does is like a talent of his, and so he'd be able to manipulate everyone around him into thinking that it's not him. I understand that, but at the same time, I don't think that this task force is as dumb as they like to portray them to be. They were so suspicious over and over again. The times that they were really suspicious and then Light got out of it, they were like some deep cuts. Elle's whole purpose for introducing himself as Elle to Light was because it would protect him. I even went back to try to figure out why it was that they did that. I understand, like, how they were able to do it, and, you know, it was the Shinigami that ended up doing it. Light didn't have any memories from what he did, so it seemed very sincere. Elle being so thorough and telling everyone, like, hey, this is what is going to happen. I know that this is going to happen. If I die, it's because of Light. Like, how is that not enough for everyone to be so suspicious of him and for that suspicion to not stop? Especially because Kira did not stop killing after Elle died. Like, there was nothing, like, I knew from the beginning that Elle was gonna die. Like, that was a very obvious thing. I get it. I understand it. But it felt stupid. It felt stupid the way that he did die, and kind of unearned, in my opinion. I think that they could have done a better job, in my opinion. That's just how I feel about that. Also, that being said, I feel like the task force had a higher regard for Elle than Light. Like, for example, the example that I gave before, Light's father, who's part of the task force, the police task force, was willing to threaten his own son to execute him for the purpose of finding Kira, right? So, like, if he is able, and if the task force is able to trust Elle to that extent, to be able to do these egregious things, also putting Light and Misa in captivity for, like, what was it, like 50 days? And it was like, that was completely justified. They were okay with them doing that. Doesn't that feel insane? It feels insane to me, and completely unnecessary. It displays just how much the police and the task force trusted Elle. So for Elle to say something like, you know, remember, if I die, it's because it's Light Yagami, and then they don't do jack shit about it. Are you serious? Are you for real? Are you for real? And that, you know, goes on to my next point, is that the dialogue was ridiculous. It felt entirely like exposition, and like things were constantly being explained to me. Like, there's this one part where with Light's dad, who's just like, hey, don't you remember this one thing? I just wanted to make sure that you didn't forget it. I'll find a clip of it or something. And I understand that, I think, like, at the time, it was coming out once a week, so people had, like, would forget what was going on, so they had to, like, you know, provide a lot of dialogue so people didn't forget.
Ryuzaki, would you mind being a little more specific for us?
So they created rules to address conflict, like, as it was coming out, it felt like. At least it just seemed like it wasn't planned enough because they were just explaining these arbitrary rules. Why not show the reasons why it doesn't work this way, or it does? Instead, you're just explaining it to me, and so I'm just supposed to accept that? I hate to do this, but I'm comparing Mob Psycho. Right now I'm watching Mob Psycho. I adore it. I love it. I love Mob Psycho. There are rules in that, but they show you the rules as the conflicts come, right? As they arise. The conflict is then addressed with a rule that is shown. Mob can't do this, but he can do this, and it's because of this, you know? There's a justifiable rule as a result. And I just don't understand why, with such a high regarded anime, why can't they have these more justifiable reasons for these rules? Like, even the Shinigami was just like, oh, there's also a rule that you can't do this, and it's just like, okay, so like clearly you're just saying this to support the plot. I find it annoying, and I know that people are capable of doing a better job than that, especially with one that's so highly regarded. It's a really great concept, really fun to think about the conflict as a whole, but also, what the hell with these stupid rules? Like, it's just so annoying. I hate just, like, being told the reason for rules, you know? Like, I know that this is something that I talk about a lot, but, like, it's just, I mention it a lot because it's something to learn from, and hopefully writers see this kind of thing and maybe are like, okay, maybe I should plan to do this. Maybe I should show why this is happening instead of just telling it to you. I think that that's important when talking about writing and how to be a good writer. I also just feel like if the writers were actually prepared, the rules wouldn't seem so arbitrary. Also, the chip scene is crazy. My editor brought up the chip scene as I was telling him that this is a video that I was gonna do, and it just made me laugh. And he's like, "And I'll eat a chip!"
I'll take a potato chip and eat it.
I hate to do it, guys. I hate to do it. I know most of you guys are probably males watching this. I know. But the female tropes, I need to talk on it. Because it was stupid. It was so stupid. Men who are watching this, who are probably getting pissed off and clicking off at this point, just hear me out. If you had someone portrayed in media and they look like you as being stupid or being just so attached to a man that they sacrifice their own well-being for the sake of that man because that's what women's jobs are, that's what your entire being is, just try to put yourself in my shoes, in a woman's shoes. I'm a woman, I'm female presenting. I hate women being portrayed in that way because I know they can be portrayed in such a strong way. This came out, I'm pretty sure, 2006. Pretty sure it came out in 2006. We'll probably correct it afterwards, whatever. That was about 18 years ago. 1977 is when Star Wars came out. And I don't know if you know of a little character called Princess Leia, but she's a bad bitch, okay? Princess Leia is a bad bitch, a powerful character, and, like, even for then, she was a very powerful character. So this is a whole other video I'm gonna be doing, but for all you bitches out there that love to complain about how woke it is, this is literally how Star Wars has always been, okay? Video for another day, but get that through your thick head. Strong female lead in that movie. Not a single strong female lead in this show. What the hell kind of kink bullshit is this? All of them were so loyal to Light. All of them were so about him. Blah, blah, blah. Literally, whoever wrote this, like, actually f*** you, because this was just satisfying whatever kink that you were like, I'm gonna become a god and get rid of all of the criminals, and all of these women are gonna want me, and I'm just gonna reject them, and I'm too good for them. Y'all are f***ed up, just to let you know. Y'all are f***ed up, bunch of incels, all y'all. So I stand by that. And even for 2006, sure, you could say, oh, it's almost 20 years ago, blah, blah, blah. Sure, you could argue that. But like I said, 1977 was when the first Star Wars movie came out. I don't want to hear it. I think that that's such a lame excuse. 2006 was not that long ago, and it was gratuitous even for that time. I'm sure people in the comments are also going to say, oh, but it's also Japanese and blah, blah, blah. They have a different culture and et cetera, et cetera. Bullshit. I don't care. I know that there are definitely other strong female leads from that time period as well. Bullshit. It's just lame. And it's also lazy. It's lazy. The idea that Misa has quite literally more power than Light Yagami, and all she does is be obsessed with Light Yagami? Are you kidding me? Are you actually kidding me? You're ridiculous. This is ridiculous. She could have been such a sick enemy. She could have been so cool as an enemy. As a villain, as an antagonist. There was so much lost potential for this. Are you serious? It would have been so cool to see that. It would have been so cool to see her like rise above and just be so powerful in that way and be so much like stronger and smarter than Light Yagami, or them just at least working together more than they were. Like, and Light having a little more appreciation for Misa. How annoying. I hate that. I also wanted to cosplay as her, but I don't feel justified doing that because she's just such a shit character. You guys wrote her as such a shit character, and she could have been so much better. Oh, God, it makes me so mad. So, all that being said, I think that it's important to remember that you can have all of these things that you could criticize about a show and still enjoy it. Both can be true. I'm really pissed off about the whole female thing and woman thing. Like even when it comes to a character that they deemed like a little bit more intelligent because she went to university and she became an anchor and blah blah blah. Takeda, who was a character that they deemed like a little bit more intelligent, still fucking died because she was so loyal to Light. She was so loyal to Light, and she still died. It's just like, women are not this stupid, and we're not that loyal to men to the point of killing ourselves for for a man's purpose. Even in 2006. Ridiculous. Even though I am so riled up about how women are portrayed, I do have to say I did thoroughly enjoy it. I loved the series. I thought it was really fun. I think that as a whole, the concepts and the way that they toyed with morality and wielding so much power, and how they made both characters very morally ambiguous in very similar ways, I found to be very interesting and very thought-provoking. I think that it's so fun to do that with a series and to see like how much potential it could have. Like, there are some very beautiful scenes that I absolutely adored. Like, there was a very interesting scene where one of the detectives' wives is literally walking to a gallows because like the audience already knows that she's going to die. I thought that was a very interesting way to go about it. But there are things that it deserves criticism for. It just does. And we can look at things with that kind of lens, still enjoy it, and still have, you know, complex thoughts about it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you made it this far, please consider subscribing. Also, maybe consider joining the Patreon. I'm going to be posting reaction videos there from now on, and I'm going to be doing analysis videos here because I just feel like I prefer my YouTube channel to be going in this direction. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, also, thank you to these patrons as well. Consider subscribing if you made it this far, and if I earned a subscribe from you. I love making these videos. I love doing this. I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much. I look so dead. Okay.